Okay. Now's as good a time as any, I guess. Actually, wait a second. Okay, now's as good a time as any. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome to the stream. Hello, hello. Um, Change some things up with the camera just a smidgen. Hopefully this will work better with a longer cord. Hopefully my audio is coming through okay. So yeah, also went ahead and replugged in my palette camera. So hopefully, you guys will be able to see what's going on with my palette and how I'm actually painting some of these things and color matching them. I will be honest, I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants when it comes to color matching. So we'll see how this goes. Right now, I've got Roboute Guilliman. I went ahead and worked on his shin guard with the non-metallic metal gold, and it looks like, especially now that I can, there's some parts on here I want to clean up, so I'm probably going to work on that first before I do anything else. One thing I do want to do, I want to see if I can get this microphone to angle better. There we go. That seems to be better. So yeah, there are some tiny details on the shin guard with the gold that I'd like to clean up a bit. So I think that's what I'm going to do first thing, just to kind of warm myself back up, because, you know, like with anything else, painting is a skill and a little bit of a muscle. And so you can't just go straight into doing super complex stuff off of nothing. So yeah, he's got just little bitty details that I'd like to see if I can fix up and clean up a little bit, especially around some of the darker shadows, because there's just too harsh a contrast, I think, between dark and light, since I really couldn't see what I was doing yesterday. That's what I'm going to try and do right now before I move on to doing the back of his leg, and then working my way up the leg to do more of the trim. Yep, it is the robotic girly man. I'm doing a little bit of cleanup on some of the shadows of his shin guard before I move on, because I feel like my non-metallic metal was a bit sloppy. And so we're getting kind of a really harsh contrast between the shadows and the light spots. I'm going to work real quick to soften that up before I move on to the next part of them. I know, right? Everyone thinks about that when they hear clean up. Is that song that you're taught as a small child. Clean up, everybody clean up. Especially if you went to public school, right? But hopefully by doing this, it'll make the contrast a little less stark, and it'll feel more like a natural progression as more light is technically hitting the spot. So yeah, I went to go get my car inspected, but they were obviously full up because it's a major dealership, and so everyone and their mom is trying to get in. But they had time for me on Saturday morning, so I guess I'm going to go do that before I head to work. But in the meantime, it means I don't have to sit in the dealership today for all hours on end, waiting for them to tell me my car is good. And so I was able to come back and just immediately start streaming. So after fixing up some of my camera orientations, here I am. But yeah, I wasn't quite happy with how this part was turning out, because it made the fringe of his eagle leg look really kind of blah. So hopefully I'll be able to fix that today. Did you have the palette camera yesterday, or did I miss it? No, I didn't have the palette camera yesterday. I didn't plug it in. I figured that since I had a little bit of time to actually set up my setup, I was going to do so today. So hopefully the palette camera will help anyone who's interested in figuring out what colors I used. So no, that was definitely not there yesterday. It should be there moving forward, because I I figure, especially since this is supposed to be a mini painting channel, that having the mini paints was a good idea. And what I might start doing actually is make a little section of the screen with a list of like the colors I'm using for whatever I'm doing, because I tend to have a very static set of colors while I'm painting a specific bit over the hour or so that I'm on stream. So it makes sense to me to why not just go ahead and add the colors on a list. That way people can see what exactly you're using. Good morning. I'm working on cleaning up some of the gold trim I did last night because I don't like how it looks. So I'm going to do that before I move on to the back of his leg and do the rest of the gold trim there. And then I'm going to slowly work my way up his knee. I will say, whereas I was able to get Abaddon done pretty quickly, I think this guy's going to take me a little while because he's just got so much more complexity to him. So, Robot Guilliman, Roboute Guilliman, is definitely going to require a little more effort and concentration and finesse on my part. But that also means I have plenty of time to faff about until I print out his plinth. So hopefully that will all show up nicely. Now my biggest issue is, as always, trying to find the center of the frickin' frame so that what I'm doing is visible to anyone watching. But yeah, this is the difference between just like slapping on a dry brush and really commanding your brush. Because the first pass I did on this, I don't know if you guys remember from last night, but I was literally just dry brushing over it with a smaller brush. And now that I actually saw how that looked and didn't like it, I'm going back through with a very precise tip to try and make sure the highlights are exactly where they need to be. So hopefully that'll end up being the case when I'm done. And his eagle on his shin will look really good versus pretty good. There. But there. Yeah. That just has much more definitive a shape, and that's exactly what I was going for. There we go. And so now the eagle wings look a lot more purposeful. And hopefully that means that when you look at the model as a whole, you won't be distracted by the irregularities on his shin like I was when I picked him up this morning. The same with a little bit of the tail feathers. And again, this is really quibbling on my end. It's obviously not super duper important, but I feel like if I'm getting paid to do a job, I'm going to do it right. Especially with a model that's going to end up being as centerpiecey as Mr. Guilliman here. Okay. So if I remember right, I know for a fact Mommy Dova is at work, and yesterday, Darius, you said that you were going to try and stream snipe me, so I'm assuming you're at work, which means I shouldn't really expect a whole lot of interaction from either of you today. And that's perfectly fine. I can kind of ramble incoherently for as long as I need to, and talk about this paint job. So one thing is that this little foot cap is going to be interesting because I actually didn't paint the shadow behind it, the armor plating, because I felt like painting that thing blue was kind of ridiculous in terms of lighting. You can barely see it, so seeing it in that purple shadow was going to work better either way. But hopefully it's coming across a little too pink for my liking right now because it's just surrounded by more purple. So hopefully what'll happen when I paint this gold trim up front is that'll kind of tone down how pinky purple it looks, and the gold trim will kind of distract the eye away from that shadow. At least that's kind of the goal here. But yeah, this model I'm really kind of having to finesse the entire way through. I can't really take shortcuts like I did with Abaddon. Right now you just woke up, you'll be at work in like an hour and a half? Oh, very cool, very cool. I forget exactly where you live, but if I recall right, it's not in the United States. Or maybe it is. If you just woke up, you're probably a little bit behind. Either that or you got different hours. I forget. I forget exactly what your situation is like. Because it's been a while since we last really saw each other. Let's see. Okay. Go ahead and give that a little bit brighter yellow. That a little bit brighter yellow. Do kind of the same thing right there. Standard, you live in the Midwest. Okay, so you do live in the States. You just live further out than I do. Because I'm on the East. I'm closer to the East Coast. I'm not quite at the East Coast, but I'm a lot closer. I live in the mountains on the western side of my state. I'm going to blend that in a little bit better. Okay. But yeah, since I'm working a retail job right now, my hours are a little funky. And so, like, I have today and tomorrow off. But then I'm going to work on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then, thankfully, they didn't schedule me for Labor Day. And then I start my new job, which is going to be a Monday through Friday, 5 or 8 to 6 kind of deal. And actually, if you give me a second, I just received some messages. I woke up since I stepped at 2 a.m. painting the purple on your bikes. Fair enough. I mean, that does require quite a bit of effort. Okay, got that resolved. Okay, let's go a little bit, way too much water. Go a little bit brighter. I seem to have accidentally scheduled my car inspection around the same time my wife has an appointment, so hopefully we'll be able to get that figured out later. Okay, again, trying to draw the brightness to the points that are brightest, or would be brightest in the light, and hopefully, eventually what I'm going to do is, at the angle, go ahead and do like a really bright ice white highlight. Because right now, this is ice white mixed with Everland Sunset, which is enough for a highlight for what I'm doing. But it's clearly not creating separation points where they need to be. So hopefully, maybe I can figure this out. Because the angle of this is very, very odd for the paintbrush to try and hit without hitting like everything else on the foot. There we go. I don't even know if that's visible. Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I did a good job positioning the camera today, so. There we go. And yeah, that does hide it a whole lot better than I thought it would, so that's okay. Okay. I guess it's time to do the trim of the foot. Because I purposely kept this purple so that I could make it gold. I don't remember if I did it on my model, but I mean, Guilliman's got so much gold on him. I figured that the boot is supposed to be trimmed in gold, kind of like everything else is trimmed in gold. So that's the next step. And then after that, I can move on to some of the other armor plates. But yeah, each of these armor plates are going to have to be very deliberate Because I can't, I mean, if I really wanted to be sassy, I could just dry brush the entire thing, but this is not my model. So that's not really something I want to do. Because honestly, a dry brush of gold on this model would be overwhelming, and it would look really good, but it would also look very technically rough. And that's not the point of this painting commission right now. Okay. Hopefully I have enough time to paint a model's cape pink today before I go to work. Yeah, that's always the dream, right? That's kind of what I do in the morning. I work on some of my technical classes that I'm taking, which are split up into nice tiny little lectures, and then I spend like 30 minutes or so just trying to do like one small part of a project with the minis, and then I go to work. And by and large, that's worked okay, especially because the classes are broken up so small. But it does definitely create a sense of urgency. And sometimes that's helpful because you don't have time to really vacillate on whether or not something is painted perfectly. You can just be like, okay, yeah, it's done, time to go. And that'll get you to a point where when you come back, it's not so much to change anymore. You can look at it and decide, okay, yeah, I like it. Or you can look at it and go, well, I like this, but I could also do this to it. And so instead of being stuck in creation mode, you can go into touch-up mode, right? At least that's kind of how I think about it. Wow. Okay, so I need to keep him more down here so he is visible. Add some more purple, or not purple, add some more golden yellow to that brown. Again, just kind of hit it there. Same thing over here. So apparently an audio mix that I grabbed a while ago is now getting pretty consistently copyright struck. And it's only like one song on it. So I've switched over to just using YouTube. And this one claims to be DMCA free and copyright free. So hopefully, A, the music is okay, and B, it's not going to get muted once Twitch gets a hold of it and sees what songs it is. But I suppose we'll see. Because honestly, I don't feel like I've got enough else going on that the music can just be muted and you guys can just listen to me ramble in silence. Okay. A little bit more there. And honestly, after I get those first couple of layers down, I don't really want to fill in the middle. I'm just kind of doing dry brushes to hit the edges. Because what that's going to do is it's going to show that it's metal and it's kind of inconsistent with its finish. And just that the raised edges are going to be highlighted. Hopefully, this yellow is not too light for that to be, or not too wet for that to be the case. So far, that's been the biggest issue with just straight Averland Sunset and Dorn Yellow, is that they hold a lot of moisture and they water down really bad. So when I just try and do something very light and deft with them, they don't exactly play nice. No, that actually looks pretty good. Okay. A little bit of a trim, a little bit of a trim. Bring it back over here. There we go. Kind of the same thing, hit the trim, but really hit some of the spots where the reflections are going to hit hardest. There we go. Add a little bit of that yellow into that ice white. Hit a little less. We're just going to slowly see that transition so that I'm using less paint, but at the same time, it's doing more work and kind of showing off the highlight, right? And that's the plan. If I do this right, if I don't screw up too much with where my brush is placed and how I place it in the actual paint job, you'll start seeing natural highlights kind of forming over the high spots. Quote-unquote high spots, the illusory high spots, whatever you want to call them. And hopefully this will help Roboute Gorilla Man really pop. And see, like, I went too thick there because I was kind of loose with the brush, but that's okay. See, I can do it over here. Blend some of that a little better. Actually, wow, I'm way too... You're almost out of full grip pink? Well, that's no good. I honestly don't think I have full grip pink. I think I have Emperor's Children and Pink Horror in terms of, like, Games Workshop pinks. Isn't Fulgrim Pink, like, the ultra pink? It's the one that just, like, reads as a really, really, really pinky pink. I will admit, Games Workshop's naming conventions get to me, because since everything has to be licensed and copyrighted, I never know exactly what colors they're talking about. Like, I don't understand how Dorn Yellow is supposed to be Dorn Yellow, given how pale it is. It's almost like a pale sand analog. And so, given that it's supposed to be Rogel Dorn, I guess maybe it's the highlights of his golden armor is what it'd be used for, since it is kind of a layer. I don't know. Okay. I hate to say it, but I think that this darn foot trim is probably the best piece of NMM I've done in a while. Because it looks pretty darn good. Okie dokie. It's a vibrant pink layer, that's fair. Sure. I don't want... How do I... I don't want to do that. I want to do that. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? That. Block this person, because selling and buying subs is illegal. How do I get rid of them? No, no, I don't want to open a stream together. I'll ban them. There we go. Goodbye. Get out of here. Get out of here. This is a stream that's supposed to invite people in, not try and buy their way in. That's silly. But yeah, that's kind of what I figured, is that it was a vibrant pink layer, because everything about Fulgrim is supposed to be loud as sin, so obviously having a super loud pink makes perfect sense. I do have to say, I kind of forgot how good Citadel paints are when they're thinned properly, but using Macragge Blue for this guy and mixing it in with some of the other proprietary paints I've used, I've been very impressed with it. So kudos to the Citadel for reminding me that some of their paints are actually really, really good. Okay. Go ahead and do some of that. Do some of that. There we go. And this one shouldn't be much because it's just like an ankle roll. Same kind of thing. Just going to add a little bit more each time, covering a little less area each time. And that's what will kind of create that illusion of it being a shiny metallic. Now, one thing that I always struggle with is like the transition points between layers, because it's always made to look so damn easy. And I don't know. I don't find it to be particularly easy. I think it's like a very specific technique of like touch and of really controlling the moisture on your brush. So watching some of these expert painters be like, oh yeah, it's easy to do non-metallic metal for this. All you've got to do is this, and then once you've created these two blocks that look freaking terrible, just blend them together. It's nothing. Though I think they're probably talking with the assumption that you understand that blending is a relatively difficult technique to learn. So it's not just, hey, just blend it together. It's more like, and then blend, which is a technique you've probably worked really hard on, hopefully, before attempting this. Okay. Hopefully this is doing it. Yeah, there we go. That looks okay. Okay, so I suppose... Oh, nope, his other ankle. I always forget about these little ankle bobs. Okay. Go ahead and do that. And hit that with some of the dark orange, which is going to act as our shadow layer. Then I'm going to grab some of just the flat brown. That's going to be the mid-tone. Not the mid-tone, it's going to be a lighter shadow layer. Some of the yellow with the brown. Going to end up being a little bit more. This is technically the mid-tone, I guess. I don't actually know with non-metallic metals. I'm really bad about knowing the exact name of these things. But especially since this one's kind of already in shadow, it's not going to have to be as bright as the other one I just did. Though, to be honest, the other one I just did, I know for a fact, is going to end up getting object source lighting kind of done over it, so I don't have to be super precious with the non-metallic metal. There goes that. This song has just a smidge amount of menace to it. Like, it's got an underlying hint of, like, intimidation going on, I feel. Okay, that. That, and there we go. Good a gold as I'm going to get right now. Okay, so the front part is done. I think it looks pretty okay. What's next, I suppose, is the back part. So he's got that little back part covering his Achilles that I guess I'm going to work on. And the worst part is that, like, this can be super freaking tedious if you're not comfortable doing it. And I mean, to some extent, it is really tedious. The first time I did this, like I said, I spent all day doing so. I was actually house sitting for my parents. And, because they had at the time, they had two fairly old, infirm boxer dogs, that I helped raise. And so while they were off, I can't remember why. There's probably something important that I'm going to feel bad about forgetting. But, they were back up in, where we used to live, which is about a 3.5-hour drive. And, I think they might have been helping my sister with something, because she lives up there still. But they were up there, so I brought my toolbox and my lighting kit, and I brought my version of Guilliman, and I decided I'm going to teach myself non-metallic metal. So after getting some rough recipes and lessons, all I had at the time, because their internet was god-awful, was, I think, some episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And it was only... I didn't know about all the different arcs and whatnot of JoJo when I first downloaded them. And so it looked like I had a ton of extra copies of the same thing. So, and I'd gotten them for a friend at the time, so I deleted them. And what I had actually deleted was the first half of the new Stardust Crusaders. And so all I had was the Egypt arc and an OVA, the original OVA series from like 1993. So it was like, well, now I don't know what I'm going to do. So I ended up doing like a non-metallic metal crash course for myself while listening to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Egypt arc, Stardust Crusaders. And I think at some point I also ended up watching Super Eyepatch Wolf's video that he made about content creation. And I remember it being really poignant and thinking really highly of it. And my wife at the time was working primarily as an artist, an independent artist, so she was really putting herself out there and trying to make that work. And she still is, but she had to get a full-time job while I worked at Best Buy as part of my job transition. So she doesn't have as much time to focus on it anymore. But I remember texting her and just being like, hey, I just want to let you know that I love you, and I really respect you and what you do, and I think that you're amazing. Because his video really made me think about what it means to be an artist, and just how much of yourself you're putting out there, and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, that's the thing. Okay. And like, I had seen some of Super Eyepatch's, that Super Eyepatch Wolf stuff before, but I think that was the one that really made me kind of think highly of him as an artist. and as a content creator. And so far, he has yet to disappoint because like everything he makes is really good. His voice can definitely do some weird things with the mic, and I know that his the sound of his voice can be off-putting for some. But I really think the way that he constructs a narrative and explains even silly things to get to his point is fantastic. So I really enjoy his content. Like his most recent one, if I recall properly, was about social anxiety horror. And if you know anything about social anxiety horror, you know it's not like one of those truly horrific things. It's just a feeling that, when done right, can create a ton of horror and anxiety in someone. And one of the examples he gave was for The Lottery, which, if you've never read, is a short story. I don't remember who it's by because I am a plebeian who doesn't know anything anymore. But you probably know the story, and it's because it is pretty well known. But the way he explained it definitely gave it a whole new edge, which was just a quick synopsis. It wasn't anything profound, but it again is just the way he does presentation is so good for setting you up for things like that. And I pretty much recognized it immediately. I was like, oh, he's talking about The Lottery. But still, A+ to Super Eye Patch Wolf for doing a good job with what he creates. Okay, so that back heel is done. You're working on the capes and stuff. I think I might try to find a new pink. I mean, that's fair. The two pinks that I have, I think, are Pink Horror and Emperor's Children's not a pink, it's a purple, isn't it? Screamer Pink, I think, are the two. And those are the ones that I use. And I just kind of add white to whichever ends up being the highlight. And even though it does kind of fade it out a little bit, it works for my paint style. But if it like doesn't work for you, then completely understand. I also have Vallejo's pink, which is another one that I use. What is Vallejo's pink? Coverage isn't where I want it to be. I'm doing 3 to 4 layers across your entire armor. Yeah, that's bloody awful. So I just have Vallejo Rosa, which is pink. It's nowhere near as vibrant as Fulgrim Pink, but it does the job. And Vallejo just does a much better job with their coverage in a lot of ways than Citadel, so I recommend them any chance I get. Because yeah, having to do 3 to 4 layers consistently is bloody obnoxious, and I can understand why you'd want to switch off. That's actually a big reason why I was trying to move over to Pro Acryl, because at least in the limited experience I've had with Pro Acryl, their colors tend to get really good coverage. And all I really have from them is an ivory, a white, they're titanium white, and I think Bold Pyrrhic Red is the color. And their red does look freaking fantastic. Fulgrim Pink is good through an airbrush? I bet. Since the airbrush is kind of regulating the coverage for you, I bet Fulgrim Pink looks fantastic through an airbrush. Okay. Oh, all this miserable trim. And the worst part with trim like this is if you don't hit it right, then it gets all over the work you previously did. Hey, Montravon, how's it going? Good to see you. I'm currently working on doing non-metallic metal across a whole Roboute Guilliman. And I'm not saying I'm regretting my choice, but since I'm not trying to do a fast version of the non-metallic metal, I'm having to be very deliberate. And it definitely has its challenges. So how are you doing? Good to see you. I do definitely appreciate you keeping in touch while I wasn't streaming, because work was getting a little bit too much of my energy, and I just wasn't feeling it. Hopefully now, though, I'll be back. You're good. You're lounging at the Strand. Okay. Okay. How? Oh no. No, no, no. I can do this. I can do this. There we go. This is just a single layer of dark brown that I'm going to have to go over like 5 times with all the other colors, and I'm scared. Because he's got so many tapering, very thin sections. I feel like this is going to be an absolute monster to try and work with. But I suppose I will see. Okay. Back into the standard brown. Hopefully I'll be able to do this and look okay. Okie dokie. Because, yeah, like I just said, the biggest thing about this is I really don't want to accidentally work my way into the blue armor that I've already done. I've worked hard enough on it. I don't want to hit it again. Looks like I just did. Look out. Oh, I just added more water to it. Absorb. There we go. Oh my god, autocorrect, sorry. That's fair. Autocorrect can be a cruel mistress sometimes. Okay. See what we got going on here. I do kind of wonder what the latency is like on Twitch stream though, because I've never I know there is a delay between when messages are sent and when like the streamer themselves gets them. But I am curious like how long that latency is. One of these days I'll have to do a test where I like start a stopwatch and send something at exactly 10 seconds on the stopwatch and then see how long it takes to appear. Oh, you can't even see what I'm doing right now because it's covered by the camera. His leg is covering his other leg. I am just, oh so gently, trying to hit more of this golden trim. And both be able to see it visually and touch it with the brush at the right angle so I don't accidentally get any of the paint into the blue main armor. And I think I'm doing okay. I suppose I'll see once I start getting the yellow in there. Probably, I don't know, 30 to 45 seconds from when you notice. That's also fair. Based on when I started talking about it, that feels about right. Hitting these spots. I mean, one of the other things is that because going back to Guilliman real quick, one of the other things about the non-metallic metal on his leg bits, or his trim, is just that there's so many small spots. There's not actually a whole lot I can do in terms of trying to create high contrast shadows. So I suppose what I need to do is just kind of like what I did on his feet, on his foot trim, and just really focus the highlights to the outside once I hit a mid-tone. Okay, let's see. Going to be a similar color. That is going to be a similar color. Perfect. Exactly what I'm looking for. So once I get to like this yellowy mid-tone, everything else is going to have to be like edge highlights, because otherwise it's just going to overwhelm and he's suddenly just going to be this, you know, Dorn yellow, cream white. I don't know. I suppose I'll figure it out once I get more into it. In the meantime, just kind of hoping and praying this turns out okay. I'm also using a much better brush than I did the first time around. I was using a Citadel brush that I'm pretty sure was already pretty cooked. So hopefully, between this one and just the general overall better precision on my part, this will look better. Okay. That looks pretty okay, given that it's supposed to be like a brown yellow. So let's move on to the yellow, and then keep a deep fried brush, as the kiddos would say. Oh yeah, definitely. Um, I have a bad habit, and I think you guys have seen it, where I will use what I think is a good brush for way too long until it's an absolute dog water brush and can't really hold a tip anymore. And I'll just keep using it, thinking that it's fine, until I grab a new one, and then I realize how sharp and precise the tip is supposed to be. And then I go, oh, that's what precision is supposed to feel like. So hopefully, I'm not really... Hey, Mommy Dova, good to see you again. Hopefully, having a more precise brush for this is going to help a lot with making sure that the gold trim looks okay. Because as much as I like the gold trim on the old one, I was definitely panicking and using a beat-to-shit brush. Okay. Service doesn't like me at work, apparently. Well, I get it. I mean, you are streaming video and audio, so it's probably like, that's a lot of data for you to have there, buddy. Aren't you supposed to be working? So I can definitely understand why your job is not allowing you to connect very reliably with it. I know yesterday, we got a Lenovo Legion Go in to do a functionality test on, which is what Best Buy does when they get stuff back, is they have Geek Squad kind of run the device to see if it's still working okay, and then they can put it back out as like, hey, this was returned and now it's open box, so it costs less. And just get yourself a good deal on a Greater Demon, because we all know you need more plastic. I mean, if you're having fun with it, and you're paying the bills, then everyone else can shut up. But yeah, just to kind of test it, since I've never owned a Lenovo Legion Go, I was going to go ahead and put my information in there and play around with it a bit. But then I realized I was going to have to download, like, literally hundreds of gigs to play some of the games I wanted to test on it. So as I sat there debating whether or not to do that, and realizing it was all going to be over the company Wi-Fi, I just reset the device. I'm too scared. Though honestly, with how everything's set up there, I probably could have done that. Wouldn't have been an issue. Barely an inconvenience. Okay. And actually, speaking of good deals, I went ahead, I saw that the professor posted that you could get the Dungeons and Dragons secret layers from D&D Beyond, and there was no queue. So I was like, okay, cool. And I forgot that they were doing a secret lair for Karlach, who is a character that I like from the Baldur's Gate games. So I went ahead and bought the foil one of that, and was like, okay, that's my spending money, no more. And then I woke up this morning and saw that they had sold out in like 2.5 hours. $100 for a new unboxed Cairo Sword of Change, getting it from Buddy with a Magic the Gathering change because his arms just aren't good for assembly and painting much anymore. You got a Baneblade for $100 in trade. Nice, guys. I love seeing good economic deals. But Mommy Dova, you don't have a Thousand Suns army. Oh, wait, no, you have a greater... Yeah, you don't have a Thousand Suns army. Are you just painting Kairos because you like Kairos? Because, I mean, that's perfectly legitimate. That's like half the things I've painted over the past month and a half. And yeah, I want a Baneblade. I don't play Guard. I kind of want to make, like, a Corrupted Guard regiment that serves Nurgle, just because. So I have ideas, and some of those ideas require me to have a Baneblade. Okay. You're going to use it for demons, and Kairos looks sick AF. You're not wrong there. Okay, so the lower leg is pretty much done. I think what'll happen is when I'm not on camera, I'm going to go ahead and do like the really precise highlights on it. But right now, I think everything below the knee is pretty good. At least for now. Onto the knee, I suppose. Yeah, even though I do want to still make armies and I still want to buy armies, I'm really finding myself... Thank you, Motorhead. Thank you. Yeah, I think it is looking pretty darn amazing, and it's going to look even better when it's all done because that'll give me a better idea of what needs to be highlighted and what needs to be put further into shadow. Because honestly, trying to do shadow when I'm surrounded by purple trim is really difficult. But yeah, even though I want to still do armies, even if they're not big, just because I like painting, I get like an urge to paint a specific style or scheme for a while. Um, the biggest thing for me really is just painting one dude or one monster or one vehicle really, really well. That's right now where I'm getting the good brain juice from. The non-metallic metalwork is very good. Thank you. I'm still trying to learn how to get it to be buttery smooth. I'm not there yet, but I do really appreciate the fact that it's a whole lot better than it's ever been because of the constant application and practice. And something that I've really noticed from watching the experts do it is it really, really is all just about like proper placement. Because even if it's not the cleanest, if you do it right, it still conveys. And so that's kind of where I am, where I'm obviously not the cleanest painter in the world, but the places where I do put it, it conveys as non-metallic metal. Placement of light, you can paint like shit, but if your light is right, it's amazing. That is true. You know, you could be very mid with your paint skills, but if your light placement is right, it does cover quite a bit of that. And this is going to be a weird example because it sounds like I'm bashing my wife, but the way that she likes to paint her minis is nowhere near as complex as the way I like to. She uses much more simple color blocking. She's also an artist with a degree, so she could paint circles around me if she wanted to. But the way she places light is just pristine, so even though her schemes aren't as skill intensive, her minis still end up looking really good. Because she understands light placement. And I'm trying to learn it. And I think I'm getting better. But it's difficult. Okay, I think for the top, this is going to end up going all the way up to almost a white. So the top is actually going to get like an ice yellow cover over it. Whereas everything else is just going to kind of go up to that ice yellowy blend that I'm doing for most all the other spots. Here. Oh, I'm actually going to need to get hit. There we go. Hopefully, by doing the rest of this placement okay, this will show up real nice. Because that's only like a brown, gold, yellow. Let's go ahead and try some of those highlights. Try not to leave big, smudgy blocks on here. I've talked about it before, but I really think watching Montrevon work, or not Montrevon, I'm sorry, even though you are a fantastic painter, watching Philon Miniatures work and seeing his tutorial videos, I think that's what really improved me as a painter, because he puts up fairly digestible videos. I don't know if I talked to you about Color and Light, a guide for the Realist Painter Volume 2. I think you did, and I think it's something that at the time I was probably like, damn, I gotta get this. And then I didn't have my job, so I didn't have any money, and then I forgot. So hopefully, that's something I can add to the library and the wish list once they start making real money again. But yeah, if you guys have a chance, imaginative realism, yeah, right? If you guys have a chance and you're interested in learning how to do like really good high contrast paint schemes, Philon Miniatures is astounding. And he also kind of makes me feel bad because I found out that, if I recall right, he started like seriously mini painting around the same time I did. and he just runs laps around me because he is really good. And I don't know his background. He might be a professional artist or a photographer or something that inclines itself towards art, but his light placement and his color selection is just really freaking good. Okay. Take some of that yellow, add it to the ice white, or ice yellow. I can start getting some real highlights on here. I was running back from the sea. Okie dokie. See you later, Montrevon. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. I appreciate seeing you, buddy. Okay. Go ahead and just do some highlights right here. Which is made real easy by my previous light placement. And once again, it's a case of like brighter color, less area. Brighter color, less area. Right? Just edge highlight some of the spots. Fill in the areas with the most surface. And then edge highlight the rest. And this isn't even the final layer. This is actually just the yellow and the ice yellow mixed together. Okay, now into the ice yellow highlights. Let's hope that I can do this well. Because this is where the least amount of paint needs to go on the Mini. Nope, that's way too wet. But let's see if I can tease it a little bit. I think that looks okay. I'm so used to holding the Minis further away for the camera. And now that I've moved the camera so that I don't need to move to hold them so far away, I'm struggling to keep my model on camera. So I apologize, guys, if he ends up being too far away. I'm trying my best. A little bit of that. A little bit of that. And again, we're just doing highlights towards the high spots. And potentially some edge highlights near the dark spots. Yeah, that'll do it. A little bit there. A little bit there. Highlight. Highlight. And there we go. And next, me thinks I gotta do that. I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that, what is it called? The Ultramarine logo. Posted the work in progress Baneblade and training pieces with an update to the pink jet bike. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. What you got? What you got in the showcase? There's the jet bike. Let's open that in browser. Good lord, Baneblades are so freaking big. I knew this is the case, but it's just like, geez Louise. Okay, no, I don't want that. So that is really funny. Window capture. There. Bam! There's the bikes. Yeah, that's really coming together. I love purple to pink. I love that color scheme. It's really freaking cool. That is a really good color scheme. It looks like you did some dry brushing to get it to the metal to look almost like a stone. And I can't really see, my glasses are off, but it does look really good. It makes the purple and the pink pop. And meanwhile, you got these freaking Baneblades, and then you got that fortification showing up. That's awesome. That just encourages me more to want to get a damn Baneblade. So yeah, very good job. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. Boom. Good lord, all the sponsons on this thing. It's even got like a Vindicator siege cannon on it. That's amazing. And you've got another one back there. The twin. Isn't that double minigun the thing that goes on a Warhound Titan? Or am I losing my mind? I honestly don't remember. But yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of do the Ultramarine logo the same way that I did white helmets. The front one is the one you traded for. It's looking like it's going to be really cool. So I'm actually going to start with a blue base, and then I'm going to work my way up to a white. And let's hope that it turns out okay, because I'm not using the same blue I used for the, I'm not using, ultramarine, or, not ultramarine blue, what the heck is it called? I'm not using Crag blue for this. I'm using a royal blue. I believe you are correct that is a Vulcan Mega Bolter. That's freaking cool. I was talking to a friend about a month ago that came over to paint, and I was just talking about how this has really become my hobby. Like, this is the thing I do. And he wasn't joking when he said it, but he did tell me he believes I'm less than 5 years away from a Warlord Titan. And that the just commitment to this hobby just tells him that, yeah, at some point, Ben Repaints, within the next 5 years, is going to find a way to purchase and acquire and build a Warlord Titan. And I want to. My biggest issue is purely money. Okay, and I'm actually going to try something new. I don't use this very often yet because I still have Vallejo White, but I bought Bold Titanium White, and my understanding is that Bold Titanium White is one of the best whites on the market. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that in a little bit with this blue and transition. It is white AF, isn't it? Yeah, Bold Titanium White is just ridiculously white. I keep hearing from other miniature painters and other hobbyists on the internet that Bold Titanium White is the white that you want to get if you want to get a good white. And now I've said that word too many times and it's lost meaning. Let's see. One of the tests I did was just painting it over a black base, and it did create a very vibrant white. So, let's see what I can do here. First thing I'm going to do is mix it in with this this blue that I was using, so I can kind of transition up to white highlights. And let's see how this is going to look. You could buy a Legion Imperialis Titan and tell him you already bought one as a joke. Yeah, I could. I really do want to get into, like, Horus Heresy stuff. I'd love to get into Epic 40k. I'd love to get into so many different aspects of the hobby, because there's so much cool warfare that happens throughout these stories, but it's like, again, money is the biggest issue. And my hope is that with the new job, that I'll eventually work my way up the ladder until I'm making stupid money, and I'll have plenty to spend on myself, on my wife, on the kids that we eventually want, and that we won't have to worry about it again. Of course, that is incredibly a pipe dream. That's like the dream for every American, but, you know, who knows? Okay. But yeah, that's it as a pale blue. Honestly, with Legion Imperialis, my biggest issue with it is that, especially getting into the Titans, that's expensive as hell. They're obviously not as expensive as the Warlord Titan in real life, but that's still like $100+. And if I'm going to spend $100+, it's going to be on, you know, some big model for 40k. So the desire to get into Legions Imperialis is not high enough to override my desire for models in 40k. Okay, so this is still mixed with the blue. It's just a like 2-to-1 ratio of white to blue as opposed to a 1-to-1 ratio of white to blue. So hopefully, once I get to that final highlight, it'll really show up as like a white highlight against the dark blue base. Okay. I think my dream right now is just getting a wife. Yeah, that is fair. I got super lucky and met one right before the pandemic, and then we got to find out how in tune with each other we were during the pandemic. And now we're pretty darn happy. You know, financial situations aside, but those seem to be righting themselves very slowly. Speaking of, I have a friend who has unfortunately gotten the short end of the stick financially quite a bit. He worked a pretty good stable job, but then because of a botched health exam, he was deemed a health risk, so he got kicked down from the actual high-paying job to a lower-paying job within the same industry, and he can't just kind of migrate jobs because he has that health ping on his record. So he went from making more money than me to making a third of the money I was making. And that obviously created problems because he couldn't pay bills. And so his car ended up kind of falling into arrears, or whatever you want to call it. Oh, man. I got some white on here, and it dried immediately. And so he basically just gave up on paying it because not living out in the street was a little more important. And it turns out that the bank has decided that they're going to go ahead and collect. And the way they're doing so is with a collection agency, who are going to repo the car and then sue the pants off him for not being able to pay his debts. And all I can think of is, of course, how is this man going to pay for the lawsuit when the man couldn't pay for the car? And I understand how it's all supposed to work, but it's just like, god damn, he can't win for trying, because he just recently got back to his regular position. He was able to get another physical and was able to strike the original health issue off of the physical. But now, as he starts making money again, he's got a lawsuit hanging over his head. I was just like, god dang, this guy can't win. But that's okay. Okay, so that is what the toilet seat looks like now. Honestly, I think that's pretty darn good. Okay, next, I probably ought to actually hit these little knee joints right here, because I missed it and I forgot. There we go there. That's a bigger one. I don't have the purple out. Okay, well, here goes nothing. Oh. One of the biggest problems I have with my brush grip is that it's very dainty. So if I move just a little bit, I tend to knock it out of my hands. And that's exactly what just happened. It just kind of rolled out from in between my fingers and off the desk. But I managed to grab it. Okay, that'll work. And then we're just going to add the littlest bit of that titanium white. We're going to create some little highlights. These little baby highlights on these little baby knee joints. Hopefully that will read okay. Okay, what time is it? 11:09? Okay, I've got about an hour left in me before I need to, like, eat lunch and move and do things. Go. Actually, wait a minute. No, these are on the wrong parts. Ideally, on a round thing. Actually, no. That looks like it'll be okay. Never mind. I was gonna say the highlights probably should be on the bottom, but I think those are gonna look okay. That's perfectly fine. I guess now, on to more gold trim. Hooray. This is almost one of those things where it's like, should I have done the gold trim first before painting in the blue? But then I realized that painting gold trim over again would be the devil, and I would hate every minute of it. We're just going to go ahead, paint all the gold trim where I can. Actually, let's get rid of some of this purple. It doesn't need to be there. I guess one of the other big issues is now I've got to paint all of the parts of the gold trim that are kind of in shadow. They're technically purple because it was airbrushed purple. So now I've got to repaint all of it in this dark brown. So maybe I should have just hand painted the purple on. That probably would have been a better idea. Oh well. Can't really do anything about it now other than keep working. And I don't know if you're still hanging out there, Mommy Dova, but I will let you know that this is going to be a labor of love. There is going to be a lot of work put into this lad. Because 90% of him is trim. And especially since you just got through working on those Chaos Aligned boys for Age of Sigmar, I'm pretty sure you understand how frustrating, well, how tedious, not frustrating, trim could be. Because I'm having fun doing this. It's just going to be a lot of it, very slow and deliberately. And of course, I'm not making things any better for myself, because right after this, the way you're paying me for him is Horus Ascended. So I'm going to have a lot more to deal with on that model. One thing I want to do when I get Horus Ascended is he's got that huge corpse pile that he's standing over. And one of the things about that corpse pile that I think is really cool is the idea that because it's technically an offering to Chaos, it should be glowing like that otherworldly red. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get that otherworldly red glow in all the crevices in between the corpse pile. And I think that's going to be a fun little challenge. Speaking of a fun little challenge, something else that isn't helping with the purple on this guy is that his body glove is also purple from the airbrush. So I'm going to have to paint that back to a black. Which honestly is just going to make this blue pop even more, so that's a good thing. It's just another little challenge I got to get done. Okay. I guess the good news is with everything that's technically unpainted, I don't need to worry too much about it because I'm going to go back over it with a shadow color anyway. But yeah, all these little spindly bits. First of all, kudos to the sculpting team for doing this. This is ridiculous and complex and impressive. So kudos to them for nailing it. But also, curse them for nailing it. Okie dokie. What could I do, buddy? What do you suggest I do here? Trim is ... fun. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I will be honest, especially after dealing with metallic paints again, I don't think I can go back to metallic paints. It might just be the specific ones that I have, which are Vallejo, but I hate painting with metallic paints. Because of the pigmentation, they're like super chunky, and they never rest properly. And they always feel really, really thinned out. And I don't like working with them. Mixed a fluorescent ink with a Lamian medium, used it as a contrast or wash and dab it into the crevices. That is something I could do, actually. Unfortunately, I don't have a fluorescent ink. And I definitely don't have... Do I have Lamian medium? No, I don't have Lamian medium. And like I've mentioned before, I don't really have any monies. I really didn't have enough any monies to buy the Carlock, but I did because I really wanted that, and I didn't want it to do exactly what it did, which was go out of stock in 2 hours. I can't believe I was in the window where I was able to get it. Unfortunately, I'm a pleb, and I got the foil versions, so they're all going to be Doritos or Pringles when they get here. But I also don't care, because I'm going to use them to build a Carlock deck. So it's not a huge deal that, or at least it's not a huge deal to me, that they're all going to be curled to shit. Because I'm also probably going to double sleeve them. Okay. All my custodians wear bright pink blades, and it probably looks really fucking cool, to be honest. Seeing colors pop on these little guys is one of my favorite things. Okay, let's see. Go ahead. Get all of this with the brighter brown.
definitely a whole lot more visible, which is exactly what I was going for. Definitely a whole lot. You know, it'd be a good idea going back to the knee joints that I was working on and then promptly forgot about. Let's do that. Let's go back to those knee joints. Completely forgot they were there for a second because I was so focused on his thighs. Okay. Get some of the yellow. Mix some of the yellow in. Okay. Okie dokie. Let's start making us some gold. Okay. Just making sure. I looked down and noticed that the palette cam didn't seem to have any paintbrush mixing stuff. I was like, wait a minute, is the palette cam even on? Did it glitch out? But no, it's just that my brush is so tiny and in such a small corner that it's not really showing up very well. There we go. Okay, now we're starting to get... Now we're starting to get some good colors in here. And again, the biggest thing is definitely going to be knowing where to place the light, because most of this is going to get this like gold brown, gold yellow color on it, but I don't want to put it everywhere because there still needs to be some deep shadows. But yeah, I've been actually really anxious to buy inks because just a general fear of the unknown. It's because I've wanted to get like white acrylic ink and just start using that as my highlight color when I do zenithal. But I've just been like, is it really worth $10 to get this when I really don't need it? Because what I'm doing right now works fine. So I've been very anxious about potentially purchasing. We started to pick up inks here and there, since I see a lot of high quality painters use them as flesh washes and other utility washes. And that's exactly what they're good for. It seems to me that the way that they're like pigmented, I guess, because I'm not exactly sure how they're made, it's super fine. So doing like zenithal highlights with the airbrush always turns out to look absolutely stunning because it's just such a thin medium, as opposed to the kind of chalky, dusty look that you get when you use, you know, cheap acrylic ink or cheap acrylic paint. I don't know. Like I said, I will eventually. It's just I'm going to need the right motivation. It's kind of the same thing that happened to me with getting the airbrush, because I saw the airbrush and my buddy had an airbrush and he was like, "Man, you need to get an airbrush." I was like, but you know what? Why? Because I enjoy the painting aspect with the brush. And I can just prime with a rattle can. It works fine. And then I got to see the airbrush in action and I got to play with it and I was like, "Oh, this is why I need an airbrush." And now that I have one, it allows me to do some pretty impressive stuff. So I guess kudos to him for being right. I could be wrong, but I believe inks have a way longer shelf life. They won't dry out as quickly as acrylics. Yeah, that's another thing. That makes it easier for like blending and stuff, doesn't it? And it's because of the medium they use. Acrylics definitely use different medium and it dries out really fast. Something like that. I don't know the specifics. It's one of those things where if I want to improve as a painter, I should at least learn and become familiar with. I'm so happy I moved the damn camera. One of my biggest problems with my camera setup is that I've used a very short cord up until today, and it's made it so I can only move the camera a certain way. And that's meant that if I get too close to the camera, I hit it with my head. It also means storage-wise, so if you don't use it, no harm, no foul, you can keep it around. That is true, too, because acrylic ink, or acrylics, do tend to dry out pretty quickly. And they tend to chunk really badly. But yeah, not hitting my freaking head every time I like get closer to the model to see if I'm doing shit right. That's been a huge blessing today. I think it just means I need to get me a new USB cable to carry around, because this is my everyday carry USB cable that I keep. It's like 6 feet long. So that way I don't have to be, like, married to an outlet, you know what I mean? Okay. A little bit of there, a little bit of there. Pull that out. There we go. Okay. We're getting closer to size stuff being done. That's at least one more layer, so now I can move on to another one. So next on to just the straight golden yellow. And let's hope this looks okay. What do you know? It looks brilliant. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought that golden yellow would be for really good gold? Okay. Kind of the same thing, just trying to find all the spots where the light would most likely hit it. And of course get essentially all of this darn trim, because I don't have the patience nor the skill to really quibble about the light placement on the trim. And yeah, Mommy Dova, if you're still here, this Guilliman is starting to look really good. I hope I'm doing it justice for you. Thing there, get a little bit of that yellow, get a little bit more of that yellow. Sorry, I've gotten a little quiet. I'm like hyper focusing on precision here. Yeah, that's looking really good. Hey Aria, how's it going? It's been a while. I died. No, I just got really busy with work, and I wasn't really able to get online very often. And now that I'm feeling a bit better about a lot of things, I've decided to start streaming again. So I'm streaming on Tuesday evenings while my wife D&Ds. And right now, I'm streaming today and potentially tomorrow because I don't have to work today or tomorrow. I'm working at a Geek Squad with Lowe's, or not Lowe's, Home Depot. Damn it, Best Buy. There we go. Best Buy is the right one. And so I usually tend to have weird hours. And in this case, it means time off on Wednesday and Thursday. So how have you been? Did you finish the Fulgrim? You doing okay? Is your wrist doing okay? If someone would announce when they go live, I'd probably stop by more. Fair enough. I have my Discord channel, and that's where I tend to announce that I go live. I haven't even visited Swinder's Discord channel in a long time. Or Kofuhara, that's it. That's the handle they use. Right now, I'm actually working on a commission piece because an enterprising individual has hired me a lot, and they really want me to do this Guilliman like I did their Lionel Johnson. Pause good, haven't started Fulgrim at all. That's fair. Fulgrim is intimidating. I understand why you got him because it's a freaking cool model, but it's like, where do you start with that thing? But yeah, they really liked my Lionel Johnson that I did for them, so they asked if I could do a Guilliman. So here I am working on Guilliman. And in payment for Guilliman and a couple of Custodes Dreadnoughts that I 3D printed and gave to them, they bought me Horus Ascended. So within the next month, I will be painting Horus Ascended and having a mild panic attack. You haven't been working on anything in ages? It's been too hot to prime it? That's absolutely fair. I don't know how it's been over where you are, but up until like the last couple weeks, it has been oppressively hot. And it's gotten oppressively hot again just recently. Like today, it's 90 some odd degrees. Almost 100. So being outside is a terrible idea. Okay, let's go ahead and hit that. It was 98 degrees yesterday. Yeah, I know, right? I think it was 90, 94 where I am. And thankfully, again, I work at Best Buy right now. Um, I'm in an air-conditioned building, so I haven't had to deal with the brunt of it. My wife got a job at a converted textile factory, and their air conditioning unit's not great. So she's had to deal with a lot more of that crap than I have. Let's go ahead and pull some more highlight towards that area. There we go. Let's also hit... It was hot for me yesterday, but it cooled down today. Well, that's good. I keep reading about, like, the temperatures all over the place, and it's like, good lord, it just keeps getting worse. I just saw a thing about South Africa, or read a thing about South Africa, listened to a thing about South Africa. They're going through a horrific drought right now. Drought? Normally, right now, they would have all these cash crops, and they should be able to sell them at the market and eat whatever they want, but they're rationing food because they have, like, a tenth of the food they're supposed to have, because a grand majority of their crops failed due to the drought. So it's just like, good lord, what do you do with that? But yeah, I am doing this guy entirely non-metallic metal, and it is definitely a challenge. Non-metallic metal hard. Thankfully, Guilliman doesn't have a whole lot of really large flat panels, which is where non-metallic metal is the devil. So it's just a matter of just getting the highlights in just the right place. And I'm a little better at that. And I'm just hoping that it looks good enough that Mommy Dova ends up really liking it. And it seems like they're pretty happy with it so far, so can't really complain too much. I also entered a painting competition last weekend that I came in 3rd place for. And I'm proud of the 3rd place finish, but as I discussed yesterday on stream, I'm also a wee bit salty because honestly I feel like my entries were better than the winners. But I was not the judge, so clearly my opinion is not as important. But the main reason why I'm salty is that they were selling, the first prize was getting like a full Pro Acryl paint set, and I'm trying to transition to Pro Acryl. So it's like, that's $250 that I would not have had to spend. But again, I got over it, I guess. I don't know if you can tell. And so now I'm just moving forward, trying to paint more and get better so next year they don't have any excuse for not giving me the grand prize. If you want to see them on my YouTube channel, I posted yesterday's VOD, and I think pretty early in it, I actually don't remember when, I talked about it and showed off some of the other winners. Okay. Again, I need to clean up and add a little bit more, specifically around this spot, because it looks woefully undercolored. I'm gonna do that. I'm probably gonna move on to the next bit. But yeah, I painted an Ezekiel Abaddon. Specifically, the one that came out at the same time as this Guilliman. And I'm really proud of how it turned out. Because regardless of whether I placed as well as I thought I should at that painting competition, I now have a freaking badass looking Abaddon, and it's inspired me to want to make a Sons of Horus Chaos Army. Ready to see the final update photo before you go to work? Heck yeah! Post it, send it, let me see it. Let's see what you got going on. What we got? Okay, there's the last one. The last two that you got. Let's see what you got coming up. Okay. Oh my god, my goodness. Okay, so speaking of updates, Leg. Leg. That's definitely looking closer to the color that I hoped it would be than it was earlier. And speaking of leg, let's go ahead and fix that, like, leg joint he's got going on. Because it's way too purple for my liking. So we're going to need to hit it with something else. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it black and then do like a non-metallic metal in here, leading up to more of a blue highlight, and hopefully not touch any of the work that I just did, or else I'm going to scream. Oh, this is difficult. I've made a mistake. I lied. I'm the greatest. I'm the best. I didn't touch anything. I'm very good at my job. Okay, so that's going to be good enough for now. I'll come back to that on a later date. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, why don't I just go ahead and do the other one? Because while I haven't... Oh, no, I can't do the other one. It's too embedded in there. That's okay. Okie dokie. I'm going to take a second. Yeah! Look at them. Look at them. Actually, let's pull up the previous one. That way we can kind of get a double. Window capture. Yo! There they are. Let's compare. Before, after. Before, after. That looks so freaking good. Awesome job. The one on the left is the a little before and after. The other one shows what the base will look like almost completed. It looks fantastic. Water break for me. That's something I really do need to get better at, and I feel like I'm really weak on, is basing. I need to do a better job with doing cool bases like what you do, because yours always look fantastic. Oh, poor Guilliman. He looks so tired. If only, right? Okay, so... Oh yeah, I should also probably get, like, the joints. The metallic joints he's got. And possibly the body glove. That would also help sell this, so I'm gonna go ahead... And once again, try not to screw up my own work here. There we go. Wait a minute. Let's get in there. Did it. Okay, fantastic. Wait, nope. The light has lied to me. There we go. Paint some of that black. And that way, once again, there is a lot of purple in this mini, but I don't want it to be the overwhelming color. Purple was meant to be the shadow or the blue. Everywhere else there's purple, I'm going to need to paint over. Which is both perfectly fine and perfectly valid, but if I don't do it, then it's just going to continue to pervade around this mini. Oh my goodness, I've made a mistake. I can't get into that little thigh area without hitting that. Okay, let's see what we got. And I'm actually trying to do kind of a purple blue, or not a purple blue, a black blue, because that will allow me to have more fun with the depth. Guilliman needs a nap. No worry, me too, bro. He's just tired. He's had a long day. He had to deal with the Rona. He had some really stinky, smelly Rona in Ultramar, and he had to deal with that issue. And now he's got... And then he found out his dad is insane. So many issues. But Guilliman's doing his best. He's working on it. Okay, that definitely looks a lot better in terms of coloring. But yeah, I've also been having that issue of needing more nap. I'm getting a lot of sleep because I'm becoming an old man, and staying up later is not fun. But the biggest issue is I've started letting my dog sleep on the same bed as me. And he apparently just likes to take his butt and throw it right into my back, and then only give me the last eighth of the bed. So I'm sleeping all contorted, and that's making it very difficult to actually get a good night's rest. And so I'm just in, like, agony the next day when I wake up. So my rest is, while I do get many hours, it is not a fitful rest. And that feels terrible. But unfortunately, he's also old, so I feel bad not letting him sleep with me on the bed because it's like he only has maybe 2 or 3 years left before it's going to be time for him to go across that rainbow bridge. And I'll be honest, I want the last few years of his life to be as good as I can humanly make them. Okay. And yeah, honestly, I think having that change to a black definitely helps it again because it doesn't have that purple going off against it in all those places. You have to do the skulls at some point too. I'll actually paint those brown while I'm at it because they're eventually going to get like a bone color on top of them. If I remember right, wasn't the Armor of Fate like almost like an STC? I don't remember much about the Guilliman Resurrection story. I just know he had this thing called the Armor of Fate, and they put it on him, and it allowed him to die, but then it brought him back to life. Which is all very cool and all, but they're really lucky it was his favorite color. And that it allowed him to match the rest of his legion. Though I think that could just be me grossly misremembering things. Let's go ahead and do that. That. That to get that shadow in, so that way it's not just, again, all that purple. And yeah, once again, slowly reducing the amount of purple around this blue has really helped bring out that it's a blue. Pretty darn happy about that. Because the right leg is definitely looking a lot more ultramarine than it did when we started today. So hopefully that will continue once I do this other leg. That took me, what time is it? That took me about an hour and a half, not including the first pass on the shin, which was last night. So it's going to take me another 2 hours probably to do his left leg. A life preserving unit because of the poison from Fulgrim. Yeah, I know that. Like, it's the thing that saved his life after Fulgrim shanked him. But I don't remember if it was specifically designed for him, or if it was an STC that they found, or how that all worked. Because if it was just, like, relic armor that they found and it just happened to work on him, then they're really lucky that it was Ultramarines colored. Eve Rain and her death magic powers and brought him back from the death. Yeah, exactly. Eve Rain could have been such a cool character had they gone full in with her instead of kind of backing away on the, what is it called? The Incarn? I don't remember what the name of the death cult, Eldar are called. But yeah, they had a cool idea going, and then it just kind of petered out at the end of 8th, and they stopped talking about it. And my best guess is that since I don't remember if they got stymied because they figured out that the last of the Chrome Blades were with Slaanesh, but I definitely remember hearing that they had this big storyline started up to try and resurrect the God of Death so they could use it to kill Slaanesh, and then they found something stopped them from succeeding, and then they just kind of let it go away. Hey, Darkvolt. Good to see you, buddy. I got one leg almost completely done. Inari, thank you. But honestly, I think they just kind of put them to a standstill so that they could come back to that later, because it seems like Games Workshop likes to create story threads and let that be your setup for your army, and then not touch it again for a while, so you can kind of craft your own story with your specific army until they come back to it later. Though in the case of the Inari, you know, they kind of almost squatted the Inari. So I guess it was create your own story until we decide your faction doesn't get to be a faction anymore. Or are they a sub-faction of the Eldar now? I don't remember anymore. Because it was like a big deal in 8th edition, and I think when they got into 9th edition, they changed it, and they made it a sub-faction. Or something. I don't remember. I do really hate the fact that the current Codex art, though, is just 9th edition Codex art with a faction symbol behind the art, because I cannot tell the difference between 9th edition and 10th edition codexes. You hate when GW does that, like with the Harlequins? Yeah, the Harlequins were a great example. I think the Harlequins should have just stayed a helper faction for the Eldar, and they should never have been made into their own faction. Because, kind of like how the Inquisitorial Agents and the Death Watch and the Grey Knights and all that stuff, it doesn't feel like there's enough there to create a full faction. So having a full faction feels dumb to me. And I feel bad for everyone who, like, committed and bought into the army, because they were like, oh shit, we have an army, let's buy into it and represent. Yeah, they were one of the strongest on tabletop for a minute. That kept happening to Drukar. I mean, with 9th edition, it felt like it was a revolving door at who's top dog, and that was also really annoying. All of that stuff really put me off of thinking about 40k as a competitive game. Because if you're going to be the best until we decide that we're going to errata you to not be the best, it's just like, okay, I don't want to commit all this time and effort into trying to figure out what everyone can do at any given time, with the knowledge that Games Workshop can just say, nah, we're updating this because too many people complained. And I mean, I get why people complain, because it's really frustrating to have games where someone uses a busted wombo combo and just tables you, and there's no competition. But I don't think 40k should be a competitive game to begin with. The way it's built doesn't lend itself to competitiveness. I wish I had a codex for both my arms. I've grabbed my 9th Space Marine codex so many times. Yeah. Like, I really like the detachments ideas. I think that that's great because it encourages more creativity with army painting, but the fact that, I mean, like, Auspex Tactics just put out a video being like, they need to change it, and they need to make it so that the core Space Marines are better, and they should do so by giving them, one of the options is give them, like, faction-specific rules, so if you play all Imperial Fists in an Anvil Siege Force, you get something better. And I understand, because they want to make everything viable, but I don't want to have more rules on top of more rules. That's what made 9th edition unbearable. That's why you started to transfer to Horus Heresy, so you don't have to remember 500 new rules updates. They're apparently talking about creating a new Horus Heresy edition, because it's been 3 years since the last one. And that makes me sad. I hope it's good. I hope it doesn't change too much. I hope it's not a new edition, because they don't need one. I don't know. Games Workshop is doing what Games Workshop does to make tons of money for Games Workshop, I guess. But it's why I kind of stuck, or like, migrated over to mini painting. I still want to try out Horus Heresy. I still want to try out Age of Sigmar. But keeping up with the rules has just become such a chore. Okay, that got rid of most of it. Oh, speaking of, Arya, I don't think you've seen it yet, but I can show you the Abaddon that won me 3rd place. Because I keep him in the corner since I love this model, and I think he's really cool. There's the lad. You think Horus Heresy and 40k is 2 different markets? It really is, though. It really is. Like, Horus Heresy has kind of become its own thing. It's more of a historical simulator than a war game that's supposed to be competitive. I'm really proud of the lighting effects I got on this lad. I think I did a pretty good job. I still don't get how the random goblin vampire thing beat Abaddon. Oh, yeah. He's from Soulblight Gravelords, and he's one of their characters. And honestly, between the two, I think he's a technically better piece in terms of like viability for beating Abaddon, because even though it's a very simple piece, the person who did it did a really good job on all of the bits and the lighting and the color theory. Like that one looks legitimately really good. And on a skill level, I think it's the only one, or it's the superior of the two. The kit bashed Black Templar Terminator Captain, it's a well done kit bash, but on a technical level, the model's not that well painted. Like, it's solid, and they didn't make a lot of unforced errors, but I feel like between the two, that one is a lesser paint job. If anyone happens to find my motivation to work on projects, please send it to me. I'll pay for the shipping. Um, I mean, at some point, I can still print Lilith for you and send it to you from Diablo. But I mean, look at this dude. He's a cool looking dude. I want to paint an entire army with him. I didn't have a friend to bully, so I made the guy he killed an Imperial Fist, and I think that's funny. But yeah, this inspired me to continue to work on my technicals, so I'm really happy that I did this guy. Because I think he turned out really good. And I didn't realize he was on the same... Wait a minute, actually, here's something cool for you, Mommy Dova. Here's a size comparison. Because these are supposed to be mirrored models. Like, Guilliman is supposed to be on his base, and him and Abaddon are supposed to kind of be like facing off against each other. And I actually want to make a diorama for that with my Guilliman, so at some point I will. But like, their base sizes are the same, they're both at 60. And clearly Guilliman's a little bigger because Guilliman's a Primarch, but you can see the parallel happening there. My first impressions playing last Saturday is that Horse Heresy crowd is a lot more chill. Yeah, well, I mean, they're not trying to make it competitive. They want to play their cool models and have cool stories, is my understanding. Whereas 40K is very much about tournament rules and playing objectives and min-maxing. Of course, I could be horribly wrong, because I'm not really part of either of those scenes, but it's just my understanding that Horus Heresy is A, happier to just get a game, because finding other people to play Horus Heresy is a lot more difficult, and B, it's all about like their headcanon within the heresy of what their specific faction of legionaries is doing, you know? Of course, like I said, I could be way off base with that, but that's what I kept hearing when I heard people talk about Horus Heresy. Okay, let's get the leggy. At about noon, I'm going to stop painting this guy because I want to get lunch and I want to, you know, eat, stretch, and do some other things. But honestly, now that I've kind of... His right leg was kind of a test. And I feel like I passed that test with flying colors. So I can probably paint with a little more confidence on the other leg. Did a 3v3 Alpha Legion versus Emperor's Children. That seems like it'd be a fun matchup. I have no idea army-wise what the Emperor's Children does in Horus Heresy, but I feel like they'd be a lot of fun to play simply because of all of their subterfuge and whatnot. Okay, again, I gotta be granular with this, so individual brushstrokes and the individual wings. How dare you stop painting my mini and trying to do it? Exactly, right? You're just gonna hold Horus Ascended over a fish tank until I finish it. Which admittedly would be a very funny mental image. And even funnier when you consider that it's resin and putting it in a fish tank probably isn't going to damage it. Okay. Again, just kind of working on building up to a brighter gold while still keeping some of the darker shades in. And unfortunately, because of how it's shaped, well, fortunately, unfortunately, I've got to actually go into each individual feather and give it this nice brown coat so that it really pops as showing like a brown transition up to an eventual gold. So hopefully that'll create a more consistent coat all the way around, and when I start actually getting into the yellows, that'll really show off nicely. Okay, let's go ahead, add some yellow to the brown, add some brown to the yellow, whichever comes first. Let's start adding some highlight color, shall we? So right now, this is a brown yellow. This is not meant to be like the final highlight. This is just getting me there as part of the transition. Just like I've talked about before, what I found out about this stuff is that because all the filigree is so narrow, I can't really afford to leave shadow in some of the spots. What I'm eventually going to have to do is just start edge highlighting with the brighter colors. But until then, I can kind of play it a little fast and loose with the darker shadows leading up to those higher colors. I lost a lot of my legionaries to the Emperor's Children's melee, but my dreadnoughts fixed that problem quick. Yeah. I hold Silenus as hostage, not Horus. Oh, Sejanus hostage. Oh no, don't do that. If you hold Sejanus hostage, then that's just going to lead us down a really bad path. I was really tickled that they kept bringing that character back in, like, fun little callbacks to the first story. Because, like, they introduce him, and they clearly explain how well loved he is, and how good he is, and all this other stuff. But then he dies immediately, which is the impetus for the initial invasion of the planet they invade. And it's like, okay, well, we're never going to hear about this guy again. He was just a plot device. And then he keeps coming back in the story, either in flashbacks or as further motivation for things to happen. I just thought it was a cool continual use of a character that at the time just seemed to be a contrivance to allow more important things to happen. I do kind of, that'll really make Horus and not want to go over to you. Either that or he's just going to want to beat you to death with a hammer. But yeah, I really appreciated the narrative use of that character throughout the Heresy. Kind of dab that gold on, or that golden brown gold on there. Because I went from a brown black to a flat brown, and now I'm using a gold brown, and all I've done is add some Averland Sunset to this color. And I'm trying to use it to fill in more of the flat spot where the light will reflect off. And same thing, just kind of highlighting those specific spots where, to me, it feels like there'd be more light hitting. And hopefully doing a good enough job that this is going to look awesome. Okay, now we're moving away from the gold brown to just a golden yellow, which is just Averland Sunset by itself. And I will be honest, I'm so tickled that I really like Averland Sunset, in case you guys haven't noticed. I use it for a lot. It's my de facto Imperial Fist color. It's definitely my de facto non-metallic metal color. I just think it's a great color with a lot of use behind it, or a lot of use cases. At least for what I'm doing. I really wish another company would make a color similar to it, but unfortunately the ones that I have are just, they don't have that same richness that this one does. So if you need a good mid-tone for a non-metallic metal gold, I will suggest to you Averland Sunset. Now what I'm doing here is I'm not actually trying to hit it as thorough as I was with the gold brown, because I still want to leave some of that shadow in there. So I'm just kind of doing these really gentle, like almost dry brush strokes across it, so that it really only hits the edge and possibly a little bit of the center. I still kind of, I mean, at least as far as I'm concerned, I still want to leave a lot of that shadow in there. So these are very gentle, very deft strokes with the brush. And my hope is, what that'll do is that'll allow a nice enough transition from like these darker golds and these darker browns into the lighter highlights. Thing here, gonna hit that, that. Okie dokie. Gonna do some of this. Gonna do some of this. And again, this is actually just me hitting the mid-tone. I have not gone into the highlights for any of this model yet, or any of this gold yet. This is all just trying to get it to a mid-tone so we have a nice yellow, golden yellow to work off of for the rest of the model. Or for the rest of the highlight. So the next thing is going to be the Dorn yellow, which is my ice yellow, mixed with the Averland sunset. And that's where we're really going to start seeing it get bright again. So next is going to be... And let's go ahead and just do it on the eagle first, because that's where it'll really show up. And again, same thing. I'm going to do highlights, but they're going to be smaller in area, because I don't want the entire thing to be like almost a white. I want the highest points to be a white, right? So hopefully that's what'll come across as I continue working this this color in. And you can actually kind of see it on the left wing. Okay, back over here, and again, same thing. I'm not trying to fill in, I'm just trying to create high spots where the light is most reflecting off of. And actually, it might help with that. Hitting with some edge highlights. If I hit those edge highlights, but I leave the middle darker, it really shows that there is a high spot that the light is most strongly reflecting off of. Okay. And that allows me a little bit more clear control over some of these spots. Same thing over here. Same thing over there. And the same thing's kind of going to repeat itself when I get to the highest color. That's where I'm going to do the most stark highlights on the model, which I kind of did off camera for the other side. But it's going to do a lot to really make it look like it's got that dark to light highlight setup that the rest of the model has, or the rest of the metal has. So hopefully this will all show up real nice when I'm done with it. Honestly, at this point, I don't know why I'm saying hopefully. I'm clearly doing a decent enough job that it's going to do it. But I guess it's good to remain humble and know that you can still mess up, right? There we go, let's fill that in a bit. Okay. One of the other problems that you need to be aware of when you're painting is like moisture control on your brush. Because if your brush is too wet, then you can't control the paint as finely as you want to. And that's going to create issues with good paint placement. You're going to end up having these sloppy like puddles of paint that are going to look really bad. And you can kind of see when I get them, because they just look like it's been globbed on. And so just be careful of that when you're doing your actual painting. Try and get your paintbrush not as dry as humanly possible, but dry enough so that the paint is flowing off properly. Otherwise, you get horrible, ugly, like puddles of the paint on the Mini, and that just looks bad. Oh no! My camera died. You're at work, have a good time, I'm gonna clock in and deal with hungry college students. Fair enough, Sindarius. Thanks for joining me today. In the meantime, I'm gonna wonder why I lost connection. I'm gonna put this over here. Let's see what happened with Camo Studio, because it seems to have pooped to bed. Yep, it lost connection to my my phone. I should be back shortly, guys. Just give me a moment. And actually, before I do that, I'm gonna pop off the camera for a second, and we're gonna put that back on. And I will be right. Can't see it, but there's some tendrils of smoke coming out of my ears as I try and process and absorb your technique. Fair enough. I will be honest with you. It's just being super anal retentive. That's legitimately all it is in a lot of cases. What is going on here? Why did die though?
I mean, I guess the good news is if you want, you can cut. There it goes. You can watch it back. Like I said, on my YouTube channel, which is also Ben Repaints. I've posted my videos. Oh no, the camera done dumb thing. No, the camera's doing dumb thing. What are you doing? Nope, that's the palette camera. Why? No, camera, no. That back down. That's the cable. We don't need to see the cable. That's the other camera. We're not looking at the other camera. Okay, is that close enough? No, that's too high. Oh, that's a little better. Nope. Sorry guys, the camera lens is doing funky things. And so now I think I got it okay. Nope, that's the window capture. Main camera. Starting soon image. Sub to your channel so you can get the updates. Cool. But yeah, I'm using a cheap lens or a cheap arm and a cell phone. Oh no, it fell again. At some point I'll actually get something nicer. Like, I really want to get a DSLR that has an HDMI output so I can kind of just, you know, stream that way. But until then, the very nice camera on my phone will have to do. You use a webcam? I mean, if a webcam works, it works. And there's definitely nothing wrong with it. But I'm realizing, especially with what I've got, it's creating issues. So I'm trying to do more expensive than a web camera. And thankfully, I now have an employee discount at the Best Buy. So at some point, I will actually improve my setup because I can buy things for slightly cheaper now. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to touch up this non-metallic metal on the or gold on the leggy because it's not quite where I want it. You think you need a better spot to position? You just now got the discount? No, I got the discount after being there for 30 days, so it actually started back in May. But I was not making enough money, and I'm still, gosh darn it, and I'm still not making enough money to really take advantage of it. So, once I start working at my other job, that's when the discount is really going to come in handy because I'll have the money to actually use it. And hopefully that will lead to better things for me. Okay. I'm gonna have to rejigger this arm after I close out today because the arm is doing dumb things now. It wasn't a perfect angle, and then I guess when I pulled the phone off of it, it didn't like that. So now I'm having to hold everything really weird. But yeah, like for example, the camera that I want to get, mainly because it's budget friendly for me, is a Sony A Alpha 6300. And that's like $800 or discount. And after discount, it's not a whole lot cheaper. But like, I can't afford that if I can barely afford my mortgage. So purchasing a web camera is really low on the priority list. But now that I'm going to have a job where we went from slowly losing money every month to now we're going to be really nicely in the green. Once we start paying off some bills and I start having some money, then yeah, that's going to start being purchases I make is a nicer web camera. I actually just got the idea from a colleague to go ahead and do like, I'm going to call it a sloppy job finishing this part of the basement so that I can actually hook up a good computer here. Because I'm going to have enough money to buy a nice streaming PC, a nice gaming PC soon. And if I have that, I've got to have a place to put it, because right now I really don't. And speaking of, it's like 5 after 12. So I think, especially since I finished that wing and that's kind of where I wanted to finish, that's what I'm going to do. is I'm going to finish right here. This was the progress for today. You can kind of see how the rest of him is still really pink, and that messes with the blue, but once you get down to the leg look good. Leg look very good. So, that's where I'm going to stop. Let's see if we can find someone fun for you guys to raid. Unfortunately, me killing the camera looks like I lost some viewers too, because it was like, oh, camera's dead, must be gone. I get. Let's see, who is online? Oh, Cryocheese is online, and they're working on a Primarch. Who are they working on? Please mute. Oh, it looks like they're getting ready, and I can't tell who that's supposed to be, but we can go ahead and hop over there. So let's go ahead and do that, because Cryocheese is someone I'm pretty sure they followed me. So let's go ahead and say hi to Cryocheese. Yep, that's the plan, just part by part. He's going to take longer than I expected, especially as my availability runs down, but I'm definitely going to get him done. That is the plan. Okay, so / raid. Not Cryo-Heat, Cryo-G. Let's make sure I did that right. Man, I forgot how good at paint. Oh, they're doing Fulgrim. Okay. We'll see how that goes. Bam. Okie dokie, guys. Thank you for joining me. I do appreciate it. It was good to see you again, Arya. It was good to see you again, Dark Vault. Next stream is potentially tomorrow, so I guess I will see y'all then if you decide to pop in. Otherwise, it's Tuesdays at around 7 o'clock to about 9:30. Thanks again for joining me, and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye!